Hi everyone, so today we're going to be building a simple calculator with Python using pyqt5. So this calculator will have the ability to do basic things a calculator could do. So as you can see here, I have three widgets in this calculator, which is going to be the list box, right, and the entry box and our buttons. Alright, so and there is kind of two layout in this calculator. So first is going to be the vertical layout, which is positioning this the list box, the entry box, and our buttons. And then there's going to be a grid layout, which I used to position all the buttons into the H box layout, V box layout, right? That's the vertical layout. So without wasting much time, let us get building. So as I said, we are going to be using pyqt5, and if you don't have pyqt5 installed on your machine, you can just open up your command prompt or your terminal if you are on Linux, command prompt if you are on Windows, and say pip install pyqt5. And if you are on Linux, just like I am, you can just say pip3, and if you are on Windows, pip install pyqt5. Great. So first we need to import things from the pyqt5. We need a few classes from the pyqt5. So I'm going to say from pyqt5. So notice the capitalization, very important. .qt widgets import. So first we need q application, then secondly we need q widgets. So for managing the widgets, we need q grid layout for the layout for the buttons, and we need qv box layout for layout for the entire window, and then we need the q push button, of course. So we need q line edits. So q line edit for the entry box, I said, and then q lists widgets for the list box, which is going to store the history of items that we have calculated previously. So I'm going to define a class called main, and then this is going to inherit from the q widgets that we imported right here. So I'm going to define my initializing function. So init double underscore, and then I'm going to pass self, and then I'm going to say super dot init, like that. So I'm going to say self dot set window title to calculator, and then self dot show. So very quickly, what I'm saying is that set the Windows title to calculator, and then show the display the window. If you don't add self the show, it just keep running, but you not see any window pop up. So it is important to add self.show, otherwise you won't see anything. So I'm going to say app equal q application, and then I'm going to pass an empty list to this, and then I'm going to say main equal main, so the main class, and then I'm going to say app.execute. So adding underscore is just to differentiate between the execute function in Python and execute function in pyqt5. So saving that, and you show on. So we're supposed to see, yeah, it worked, and you can see that I have this empty window without any widget in it. So very quickly, I can change the background of our app. So I'm going to say self dot self.set style sheet. So here we can define a CSS styling pattern. So you can use CSS styling. So I can say background, and I'm going to say hashtag 333, and then font size, so that it is easier to see. I'm going to set that to 30 pixels, and let's run. And then wow, our background is changed into the hashtag 333, and yeah, that's it. And now let's create our layout, then our widget. So we can see main underscore layout should be equal the qv box layout that we imported, and then the button underscore layout equal qgrid layout. So the buttons are going to be in a grid, of course. And so let's define two widgets and then add them to our layout or our window, we can say. So I'm going to say self dot history box. So that list box that you saw earlier, I'm calling it history box. So I'm setting that to the q list widget. So I'm going to say self dot entry box, so equal q line edit. So now to add this to our window, we need to add them to our layout first. So I'm going to say main layout dot add widget. So to add widget to our layout, you use the add widget function, and then I'm going to say the widget we want to add is going to be the self dot history box. So since the main layout is a vertical layout, we don't need to specify any row or column. It is just going to be on the same column and different rows, right? And then I can say self dot main layout dot add widget, which is going to be self dot history box. And now to display to set our Windows layout to this main layout, we need to say self dot set layout to the main layout, and save and run. I have an entry box here, very visible, and then a list entry box right here. So very quickly you can see that we have our list box and our entry box. So if we want to change the color for the text in our entry box, we can just do that by also adding a CSS styling way. I'm going to say self.entrybox.set style sheet, then color, right, color to white, and I'm going to save that, and yeah, it's working perfectly. So now we need our buttons, since we have our entry box and our list box. So I'm going to define button, the first button, button 1 equal q push button, and then text should be 1, and then clicked equal. So what we are saying here is that define a button called button 1, set the text to 1, and then clicked. What we mean by clicked is that the function, this thing, is going to, whenever I click this button, which function is it going to trigger. So I'm going to come down here and define the function, defining another function called insert num. So basically what these buttons are going to be doing is that they're going to be inserting numbers into our entry box, right? So of course we need to first pass self and then num. So this num parameter is going to be the number this button is going to insert into our entry box. So all we need to do is just say self.entrybox.insert like that, and what we want to insert is going to be the num. And now we can connect that to our buttons. So since we are not going to be calling these buttons, we can just directly say insert num and then pass the argument of 1. We need to add that in a lambda function. So I'm going to say lambda then self dot insert num function. So whenever I click this button, it is going to insert 1 into the entry box when you click button 1. So now to add this button also to our layout, first we need to, this button is supposed to be in our grid layout, right, in the button layout. So I'm going to say button underscore layout dot add widgets button 1, and then now if we run this, and it's not going to show in our window. Why? Because this button, it is not this layout is not connected to the main layout, right? So what we need to do is going to say self main layout dot add so layouts. So this time around it's not going to be a widget, instead it's a layout, and then the layout is going to be the button layout. And then save that and run. We should see that button appear, and when I click that button, you can see that it is inserting 1 into our entry box. So very quickly, let me just resize the window so that it looks much more better. So I'm going to say self.resize to 300, which is the width, and then height should be 500, and then yeah, now it looks better. So now I need to define the rest of the buttons. So I'm just going to copy paste. So copy. So we're going to need button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, button 5, button 6, button 7, button 8, 9, 10. That's the 0. Then we need the operators, and then the dots. We need brackets. So for the dots, the open parenthesis, the close parenthesis, the add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and finally the equal sign. So let's separate this, but quickly rename them: button 2, button 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So this one for the dots, so I'm going to name that button underscore dots. This one for the open parenthesis, so I'm going to say open parenthesis op, then close parenthesis cp. Then I'm going to say this one should be add, button remove or subtract, then button multiply, button divide, and then button calculate. So because that button is supposed to be calculating the stuff for us. So right here we need to add all these buttons to our layout. So we're going to say button layout dot add widgets, and then the widgets we're going to be adding is all these of these buttons. So I'm going to first add the 1 to 0 buttons, and then first here, before that, we need to add another argument before the widget. So after the widget, sorry. So the argument is going to be specifying which row and which column should this widget be. So this should be on the row 0 and column 0. So now I'm going to add the rest of the buttons at different. So for button 4 I'm going to do that, button 5, button 6, button 7, button 8, button 9, button 0. So changing the row and the column, so this button should be on the row of 0 as well, and then the column of 1, and then row 0 as well, column of 2. So this one should be on row 1, column of 0, row 1, column of 1, row 1, column of 2. Then this should be on row 2, column of 0, then row 2, column of 1, row 2, column of 2, then row 3, column of 0. So save that and run. Oh my gosh. Oh, I didn't change the names. So button 2, button 3, button 4, button 5, button 6, button 7, button 8, button 9, and button 0. So yeah, now these buttons are there, but I haven't changed all the text right here. So text 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Then the number they are going to be inserting: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. So save that and run that, and then if I click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. And now let me just change this Windows style. So going back to the bottom, and then I'm going to say app dot set style, and then I'm going to pass Fusion. So I'm changing the Windows style to Fusion. So yeah, now it is much more easier and clearer to see. And yeah, so now we just need to add the rest of the buttons. So button dot, button open parenthesis and close parenthesis. So these buttons should be button dot, button open parenthesis, then close parenthesis. So button dot should be on row 3 and column of 1, row 3, column of row 3, or row, let's say row 4, column of 0, row 4, column of 1. So save that and run that and see what it look like. I didn't change the names again. What's wrong with me? So button dot, button open parenthesis, and then close parenthesis. Save that and run. And yeah, these buttons are there, but we need to change the values. Dots. So this one should be open parenthesis, close parenthesis, then this one should be inserting a dot, and this one should be inserting a open parenthesis, this one should be inserting a close parenthesis. Save that and rerun. And yeah, this one is an open parenthesis, close parenthesis, dots. Yeah, they are all working fine. So now we need to just add the rest of our buttons also. So yes, this one button add, the text should be a plus sign, a minus sign, a multiplication sign, which is a asterisk, and then a division sign. So inserting this should be also a plus, minus, right, a multiplication, and a division sign. So our button calculate is not going to have the same function as the uh, other buttons, and we need also another button which is going to be the button underscore clear, so which is going to clear the screen, which is a Q push button, and text should also be C, and this one also will have another separate function on its own. So now let's add the multiplication buttons into our grid as well. So 1 2 3 4. So the button underscore add, button underscore sub, button underscore multi, and then button underscore divide. So this one should be on row 2, column 0, column 4, column 4 or column 3, sorry, then row 2, row 3, column 3, row 4, column 3, and then column 1 should be on column 2. So save and run. Okay, now it is working fine. So now we have these buttons. The division button is right here, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So here is for the clear button, and here is for the equal sign. So to add the clear button, let's also add the clear button. So clear button clear is going to be on column row 0 and then column 3, and then button for the calculate should be on row 4, then column should be column 2. Save and run. So now we have this clear button right here, then the equal button is also here, but let's change the text to equal sign, so like that. And now we need to just extend the row span to 2. So to do that, you need to add more arguments. So here we need to specify the row span first. So the row span is going to be 1, of course, then the column span is going to be 2, and save and run. And now everything is working exactly as we want it to be. So now let's define the rest of the functions. So we need two functions. Let's define our clear underscore items function, which is going to clear this the entry box for us. So all we need to do is just say self.entryBox.clear, and then I'm going to connect this function to the clear button. So right here, the clear button, I'm going to connect, say clicked equal. So now, since we are not going to be passing any arguments to our function, all we need to do is just say self.clear items, like that, without any parentheses. So now if I add things to the list entry box and I click clear, gone, clear, wow, clear, 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 great. So now that our button clear is working, we need our button, of course, calculate. So define a function called calculate and pass self, of course. So we're going to connect this function through the calculate button. So I'm going to also say clicked equals self dot calculate, and then now let's add items to the function. Let's define the function. So what it's going to be doing is items underscore to underscore calculate equal self dot entry box dot text. So this is going to get the item that is inside our entry box. So to verify, it's going to get that. Let's print that. So I'm going to run that, and now if I say 1 plus 1, you can see that here in my console I have 1 plus 1. And then if I say anything, just type anything, of us in my console, we're going to see what I typed. Great. So now that all these functions are working properly, let's clear the print statement, and let's add a try and except block. So what we are going to be doing is, of course, we need to be catching errors if there is any error, because you can malform an expression. So if items to calculate, so we only want to do this if there is item to calculate, right? Otherwise we don't want to calculate anything. So items to calculate equals string str item to calculate, like that. So I'm just converting the item to a string. Then what we want to do next is we're going to say results equal eval. So this is a built-in function which can evaluate any expression that is in a string, so any mathematical expression, of course. So items to calculate, and then we can say self dot entry box dot set text. So I'm going to set the text to the string of a result, because this is going to return an integer. So to insert a text into the entry box, it needs to be a string. So let's run that and see what it looks like. 1 plus 1 should be 2. Wow. Then 2 times 2 should be 4. Great. So now, since our calculator is working fine, all we need to do now is say we're going to insert the result into our list box right here. So I'm going to say self dot list box history box dot insert add item. So this is going to add item to our list box. So also we need a string. So let's save that and run, and let's say 1 plus 1 times 1 is, oh, now we have an error. So srt, not srt, str. So save and rerun. So 1 times 5, 1 times 3, 3, and you can see 3 appear here in our list box. So if we do that again, 40 appear in our list box. But this now we want it. Want a kind of a formatted string that will have the expression that we calculated, and then the results. So what we're going to do here is add a formatted string. So the formatted string should contain the following items. So a formatted string, and then we have the expression, that's the item to calculate, then an equal sign, and then the results that we get. So very quickly, if I do that, and then 1 plus 1 should be 2, and then you can see I have 1 plus 1 equal 2, and if I clear 1 6 plus 6 12 and then 12 clear. So now what if we have an error like this, and then you can see we have this stuff string blah blah blah. We have an error in our console. So what we are going to do is say, instead of raising the expression exception, we are going to instead say self.entryBox.set text should be malformed. So malformed expression. So save that and run. So now if I add anything error, you can see we have malformed expression in our entry box. But this kind of look weird, right? Very long. So we can just shorten that and then just put in a instead. So like that, a, very simple. And yeah, this is our basic our simple calculator we built using pyqt5. And by the way, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And yeah, if you want to find the source code to this project, you can find that on my GitHub account, which is in the link in the description below. So if you have any idea of any project you want to build with pyqt5 and you don't know how to go about it, you can personally mail me through any of my social media accounts, and I'll try my best to get back to you with the any kind of information I have about it. Yeah, and that's it for this video. Make sure you stay tuned. Bye.